Hi, welcome to In a Pickle Knitting. My name is Donna and this is Vlogtober day 16, so it's October 16th, 2018. This is a short vlog about some children's literature books and a recipe again today. So today I have a little stack of books all on the same topic. They all have differences and appeal to different ages, so I just thought I'd share them together. And the topic is apples. This is the start to finish series, and it's called From Shoot to Apple. It's a large series published by Lerner Publications, I believe. And each one has a different author, but Stacy Taus Bolstad. But the start to finish has different authors. And what I like about these books is that they can be used on multiple levels, because you can choose just to read the text at the top, the tree gets big, or if you have an older child, so maybe you start off with this book in a preschool, and then when your child gets maybe first grade, you can incorporate the text beneath it. And of course the illustrations are photographs. It is a nonfiction book. Another thing that I like about it is that although there aren't many, they do use some bold words, and bold words are then defined in the glossary, so you can teach about the mini dictionary that's found in some books, and it also has an index, so you can use it to point out some features in nonfiction text. So this is a nice multi-age book. Another one that I like is Amazing Apples. It is a science vocabulary reader. It's written by Jeff Bauer, and it is also a nonfiction. And what I like about it is that it's accessible for younger children, but it is separated into chapters, which they like. It has a glossary and also some questions in the back, which will probably be ignored. It has labeled photographs, and that's another nonfiction text feature, and bolded words that are found in the glossary. And this is not one that has that multiple levels, but as you can see from this text, this is probably approachable for some first graders and second graders, and even some third graders might like it. And lots of different insets with captions and such, and those are always good to teach. So I like the photographs in it, and it's a very approachable book. The next one is called How Do Apples Grow? And don't be deceived by this second level here, this stage 2 in this series that is the Let's Read and Find Out Science. These books are harder than they look. They have the look of something for a younger child than they actually are written for. By Betsy Mastro, illustrated by Julio Mastro, and they have a large number of books written in this same way, which are illustrated rather than photographed. And that text right there doesn't seem too advanced, but some of it is. It is more advanced than it might appear at first, but it has good labeled illustrations, yes, and but no glossary or index. Covers the subject matter well. This series is really good for basic science concepts, but they just look for younger children than I think they actually are, unless they're going to be read too. The next one is Apples by Gail Gibbons, and anything by Gail Gibbons is in my library, because I like the way she approaches nonfiction. They're older books. And what I like is that typically she has a large illustration at the top and then a smaller amount of text at the bottom. And she goes into a lot of detail and has some labeled drawings as well. Let's see anything else in there. There is not a glossary, but then there are sometimes these step-by-step little insets that provide a little bit more information. So a guide to the varieties of apples that you can find. So overall, anything by Gail Gibbons is good for 3rd, 4th grade students, some 2nd grade students. And the last one is probably the most difficult. This is The Life and Times of the Apple by Charles Masucci, I'm not sure. And there's one on this, I think, Life and Times of the Honeybee. There's Life and Times of the Peanut, and I'm forgetting. There may be more than that. And this is a book with a more detailed table of contents. It is the most difficult. This is probably high 3rd, 4th, and even some 5th grade. You can see there labeled illustrations. This gets into detail of what kind of apple you would get from crossbreeding, how grafts are done on apple trees, which is in one of the other books too, but it goes into a lot of detail. And there's even a legend of Johnny Appleseed, which is a nice touch to put in the book, something out. And here's some more factual information done on a map in small captions. So I like these Life and Times books. They give a lot of good information. So apples are today's topic, and for our recipe today, I'm going to be baking an apple pie. It's a deep dish apple pie, and see, it seems like I'd forgotten to tell you something in there. I think I had a section that I thought I was filming and I wasn't filming, and so I had to add a little slide. So if you hear silence, it's probably you need to look up and there's probably some information there that I don't tell you, because when I think it was during the pastry crust that I was making, that I did part of it. I actually did adding the water and forming the dough and then making 2 dough balls, wrapping them in plastic wrap and refrigerating them. But I had to put that onto a slide just so you have to read it. Sorry about that. Don't know what happened, but at the point that I figured it out, when I was trying to put it all on the computer, it was too late because the pie was done. So I'm sorry about that. So thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoy these apple books and will enjoy the pie, and that you will come back again tomorrow. Bye-bye for now. To prepare your double pastry crust, you're going to need 3 cups of flour, 1 stick of butter, which is a 1/2 cup, 1/2 cup of vegetable shortening, and you want to use your pastry cutter or 2 knives to cut the fats into the flour. You're going to want to cut in the fat until it gets thoroughly incorporated, as here. And then we're going to be using some ice cold water. You want to put have a 1/2 cup of ice cold water available, and start off slow, maybe just reserving 2 tablespoons or so, and only add that last bit if needed. And of course, if it is too dry, you can always add a little bit more drop by drop. As you mix this together, I usually do it with my hands. Core, peel, and slice to about quarter of an inch 6 to 7 Granny Smith apples, and pour the juice of 1 lemon over and toss to coat the apples. In a small bowl, combine 3/4 cup of brown sugar, you can use light or dark, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of allspice, and your 1 cup of chopped pecans. Stir that up. Add the brown sugar nut mixture to the apples and stir completely. The apples are now ready to add to your prepared pastry crust. If you don't want nuts in the pie, that's totally okay to leave them out. You may also add or substitute plumped raisins. If you want to add plumped raisins the night before you make this, take about 1/2 to 3/4 cup of raisins and cover with orange juice or apple juice. Some people even do bourbon, and plump them overnight. Discard the liquid and then add the plumped raisins to this mixture here. After rolling out one of your balls of pastry, line the bottom of your pie dish and then use about 1 tablespoon of apricot preserves to spread on the bottom of your crust. You can't blind bake a double crust pie, So the apricot preserves help to keep you from getting a soggy bottom. It's now time to get the apple mixture and pour it into your Now that the apple and pecan mixture is in the bottom pastry, go ahead and roll out your top pastry. Okay, so we have our top crust, and we're going to go around the edge and adhere the two pieces of pastry together with some fluting. And then we're going to cut some deep vents into the top of the pastry. Okay, before we cut these vents in our pastry, we're going to take a little bit of beaten egg white and brush it on the pastry. After brushing the pastry, you want to take and sprinkle sugar over the top of that. The egg just helps it to stick. Okay, so the vents are cut, and we're now going to bake this in a 400-degree oven for 50 minutes. And keep an eye on it. About halfway through, I take a look. If it looks like the outer crust or the edges of the crust are browning too quickly, you can wrap some foil just around the edges. Yeah. And be sure that you have a tray underneath it in case there's any overflow. And there we have our apple pie. So slice off a piece and serve it with some vanilla ice cream. And let's check this out. No soggy bottom.